41st Invocation, Morning Star, pray for us. O Divine Mary, immortal morning star, you are as sweet in our eyes as you are radiant and glittering. If you do not emit like the sun dazzling rays of light which enlighten, warm, and fructify all nature, at least you shine as the star which precedes the course of that giant of the heavens. When the brilliant orb of day appears in all his dazzling splendor, the morning star grows pale and finally becomes invisible. But when day declines and the sun sinks in the west, the same star, now relegated to the dewy eve, again appears and looks down upon us with a mild and friendly light. Mary resembles this morning star, wherefore she is called the morning star by the Church. A night of 4,000 years had covered the earth with a gloomy pall. Nations walked in ignorance and in the shadow of death. Blinded as they were, they no longer knew their Lord and Creator, but fell down in adoration before creatures, nay, even before idols of wood and stone. Their minds were so enveloped in darkness that they could no longer distinguish between right and wrong, between virtue and vice. Frequently, they looked upon the greatest crimes as laudable deeds. Their idolatry was as senseless as it was cruel and base. The devil whom they served seduced them into believing that they were paying homage to their deities by the most abominable debaucheries. At length, the teacher of mankind appears on earth. The long night is ended, and the day dawns. He leads men back to the true knowledge and worship of God, instructs them in all that pertains to the divine service, and makes known to them in clear words all that it is necessary for them to know. Christ is therefore what he calls himself, the light of the world, the Sun of Justice. But as the morning star precedes the sun, announcing the dawn of day, so Mary precedes Christ, the Sun of Justice, announcing the day of salvation. Thus she is the morning star. Witness St. Bernard, who says, "Through thy coming, O blessed morning star, the whole world was illuminated. Star of salvation, you displayed a splendor worthy of the sun when it shineth. You were truly the bright and morning star of that blissful day when the world saw the divine star of its redemption arise upon it." The morning star disappears at the rising of the sun. At his going down it is seen again as an evening star. Thus Mary withdraws during the public life of Christ, when, like the sun, he gives light by word and deed. But when the Sun of Justice goes down, Mary again appears as evening star, for we behold her on Calvary standing under the cross of her Son. Even now, after our divine Savior has withdrawn his visible presence and is enthroned in heaven at the right hand of his Father, Mary shines in the Church as a friendly star whose radiant light will never more be extinguished till the end of time. Every Christian child throughout the world knows Mary and sends forth prayer and praise to this star of benediction. My dear Christian, you too should be a morning star in a spiritual sense. Prepare the way for the Sun of Justice, according to the words of the prophet. Prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his path straight. You should do this by filling up the valleys of sensual desires, by leveling the hills and mountains of vanity and pride, by straightening the crooked ways of injustice, and by freeing your heart from every inordinate desire and passion, and from every affection of sin. As the morning star is no longer visible when the sun rises, so you should humble and even despise yourself, as it were, as often as you appear in church before Jesus or receive him in Holy Communion. Jesus is God. You are a miserable creature. Jesus is the Holy One. You are a sinner. Jesus is all in all. You are a mere nothing. Should it, can it be difficult for you to humble yourself? Resolve in particular to avoid in church all vanity and desire to please. Do not appear in more elegant attire on Sundays and holy days for the sake of men, but for God's sake, and conduct yourself in such a manner during divine service that your interior reverence and humility may be manifest in your exterior to the great edification of others. The morning star excels all other stars in size and beauty. It is one of the planets which receive their light from the sun. In this respect, Mary also resembles the morning star. She is greater than all the angels and saints, for while they are only the friends and servants of God, she is his mother. Can anything more sublime be imagined? What dignity is equal to that of being the mother of God? Mary also surpasses the angels and saints in the splendor of her sanctity. Possessing of all creatures the highest dignity, it is meet that she should also possess the greatest degree of sanctity. We read of no angel or man to whom God ever said, "Hail, full of grace." One only did he salute with these words, namely, Mary, the Blessed Virgin. The plenitude of grace she has received resembles an ocean, which, though not immeasurable, yet cannot be measured. Compared with her, even the sanctity of the cherubim and seraphim appears little and insignificant. The morning star, as we remarked above, has its light not of itself, but receives it from the sun. In like manner, Mary possesses her sanctity not of herself, but received it from God. If, according to St. James, every best gift and every perfect gift is from above, from the Father of lights, who could doubt that sanctity, the best and most perfect of all gifts, is the gift of God? And if the apostle assures us that it is God who works in us both to will and to accomplish according to his pleasure, is it not evident that by his own power no one will attain to sanctity? Thus Mary had to acknowledge with the same apostle, "By the grace of God I am what I am." It was God who sanctified and preserved her from every stain of sin from the first moment of her conception. It was he who watched over her through her whole life, preserving her from the least fault. It was he who strengthened her to overcome every temptation and to walk with perseverance the path of virtue. Finally, it was he who led her on from one degree of perfection to another. No creature in heaven or on earth equals her in sanctity. As the morning star shines by the light which it derives from the sun and which it reflects, so Mary with the greatest readiness received the graces which God imparted to her in abundance, and made use of each with the greatest fidelity and promptitude for the salvation of her soul. Yes, Mary has worked more abundantly for her salvation than all men. No saint ever guarded against sin as carefully as she. No one was so unceasingly active in the affairs of salvation as she. None ever loved God as devotedly as she. It was this quick, active, and persevering correspondence and cooperation with grace that enabled her to attain the highest degree of sanctity. My dear Christian, you too must become a saint. This is your destiny here below. God hath not called us to uncleanness, but to holiness. Reflect seriously on this, and fervently implore the aid of Mary, for if you are not saved, what then? You will be damned for all eternity. Oh, how foolishly those talk who say, "We do not want to become saints." Do not coincide with such Christians. They are worldly people and walk the broad road which in the end leads to perdition. You can become a saint if you will, for God gives you his grace. Therefore, make good use of it. Avoid sin, abound in good, comply with your religious duties, the duties of your state of life, and love God above all things, for herein consists true sanctity. If happily you have entered upon a better life, preserve humility of heart, and acknowledge with the apostle, by the grace of God, I am what I am. Continually aspire to higher sanctity. Let no day pass without working for perfection. He that is just, let him be justified still, and he that is holy, let him be sanctified still. The morning star is much loved by the grateful mariner, for it is the first star they see in the evening and the last they see in the morning. When the morning star with its friendly light looks down upon them, there is no danger to be apprehended, and the ship glides quietly over the unruffled surface of the ocean. But if dark clouds veil the sky and obscure the morning star, great danger threatens. Storms arise which tear the sails, break the masts, and drive the ship upon cliffs and breakers, or dash it into the fathomless deep. The morning star is not only a welcome sight to those on the ocean, but also to those who travel on land. When it rises, the nocturnal traveler feels more cheerful, for day is breaking, and wild beasts and wicked men who prowl about during the night retreat to their haunts. Herein, too, Mary resembles the morning star. Oh, how she loves to support, direct, and save the pious Christian who calls upon her amidst the tempests of the heart, the storms of the mind and the senses. Oh, how should we, who have been perhaps saved through the mild splendor of that cherished star, honor Mary by a life pure as the unchanging rays of her light. A Protestant from the vicinity of Geneva embarked at Havre on November 26, 1854, with 21 persons of his persuasion. All the other immigrants were Catholics. California was their destination, and gold the motive of their voyage. Alas, there were but few of all that eager throng who gave even a passing thought to the treasures which neither moth can consume nor rust deface, and which it were infinitely better to seek than all the glittering gems and gold of the old world and the new. There was, however, on board the ship, a humble follower of Christ, one of those zealous missionaries who annually go forth into the world not to gain gold, but souls to God. The voyage was not a favorable one. They had weathered 2 violent storms when on the 2nd of February, 1855, a third most terrific gale arose, and to add to their misery, their ship collided with another vessel. The captain had given up all hope of saving the life of a single person, and the poor people expected every moment to find a watery grave. Suddenly, when the danger had reached its culmination, the priest, raising his voice, said to his companions, "Friends, have courage and confidence. This day is a festival of the Blessed Virgin." It was the purification. "Let us invoke her with lively faith, that today and during the whole time of our voyage she may cover us with the mantle of her protection." But there are Protestants among us. Will they also join us, and in this our dire necessity choose Mary for their mother, if she delivers us from this danger? "Yes, yes," they answered with one voice. "Yes, yes." Heaven heard their prayers. In a few hours the storm subsided, all the danger was past, and those on board breathed more freely. I will not attempt to describe their sentiments of joy and gratitude. The Protestants were true to their word. Having received the necessary instructions from the missionary, they embraced the Catholic faith, were conditionally baptized, and received the sacraments of penance and the Blessed Eucharist. An altar was erected on deck, before which the men daily prostrated themselves to offer their prayers of thanksgiving. The remainder of the voyage was prosperous, and on the 12th of June, 1855, they landed in safety at San Francisco. The first thought of both immigrants and sailors was to visit a church, to assist at the holy sacrifice, and to again thank God for their wonderful escape. It is easy to imagine the sentiments with which the converts were penetrated. Mary, the star of the sea, had not only rescued them from bodily death, but also conducted them into the secure haven of the Catholic Church. My dear Christian, in all dangers and temptations, have recourse to Mary, and in order to strengthen your confidence in her protection, consider what St. Bernard says. If you find yourself tossed about by storms and tempests in the current of this world, turn not away your eyes from the brightness of this star, unless you wish to be overwhelmed by the waves. If the winds of temptation arise, if you strike on the rock of tribulation, look up to this star. Call upon Mary. If you are tossed about by the whisperings of pride or ambition, of envy or detraction, look up to this star. Call upon Mary. If anger or avarice or concupiscence agitate the bark of your mind, turn to Mary. When affrighted at the enormity of your crimes, or terrified with the dread of the future judgment, you feel yourselves about to be involved in the whirlpool of despondency or engulfed in the abyss of despair, in dangers, in difficulties and doubts, think of this star, this ever-protecting, radiant star. Think of Mary and invoke her most powerful intercession. Let her name never depart from your mouth or heart, and that you may obtain the benefit of her intercession, forget not to imitate the example of her life. While she supports you, you cannot fall. While she protects you, you cannot fear. While she guides you, you cannot feel fatigue. And if she be propitious, you will arrive in safety.